Welcome to the Sleeping Scribe, where ancient Egypt stirs beneath starlit skies and forgotten scrolls whisper softly in the dark. Tonight, the scribe has chosen a tale of gods and pharaohs, tombs and temples. Let the story unfold as your eyes grow heavy and the past lulls you gently to sleep. Introduction: a return to the Nile Valley. Before pyramids rose in perfect lines, before Cleopatra reigned, before the stories of gods were carved into sacred stone, there was the farmer. Ordinary in name, but essential in spirit. Tonight, we leave behind the noise of modern life and journey to a quieter time where the heartbeat of the Nile set the rhythm for everything. We return to a world of earthen walls and woven sandals, of humble clay lamps and hand-ground grain, a world lit by firelight and shaped by calloused hands. In the hush between sunset and sunrise, we drift into the lives of those who lived simply, but left behind echoes that still speak. The ancient Egyptians called their land Kemet, the Black Land, rich with silt and spirit, a narrow strip of life bordered by endless desert, sustained only by the flooding river. And in that land, from the smallest child to the high priest, all depended on the farmer. His days were not filled with ceremony, not wrapped in gold, but in repetition, in observation, in honoring what the earth gave and what it could take away. His name may be lost, but his footsteps remain. In the furrows still carved in ancient soil, in the baskets buried beside temples, in the drawings left on tomb walls, showing his labor, his family, his grain. So tonight, we follow the life of one such man, an ordinary farmer. His story built from fragments, records on papyrus, murals faded by time, tools unearthed in forgotten fields. This is not the story of a pharaoh. This is the story of quiet survival, of sacred routine, of sunrise to sunset, and what lies between. Let us begin on the riverbank, where water kisses earth, and history lies just beneath the surface. Chapter 1. A soft morning. The day begins before the sun has crested the horizon. A pale blue hush settles across the village, brushing rooftops made of sun-baked mud and straw. Inside a small home made of hand-formed bricks, a man stirs on his woven mat. The earth beneath him is cool, dry. The floor had been swept the night before, part of a ritual passed through generations. A clean ground welcomes a clean day. His wife has already risen. A small clay lamp glows beside her. The flame dances gently, barely enough to cast a shadow, but enough to bring warmth to the room. The walls are undecorated, save for a single carved figurine tucked into a niche, a wooden image of Taweret, guardian of mothers. In the silence, they move through their tasks with reverence. A bowl of water is placed at the doorway. The man dips his fingers in, touches his brow, then the small figure, and finally the ground, offering thanks for breath, for soil, for life. Outside, the light grows slowly. Mist hangs over the Nile like a veil. Chickens rustle in the reed pen. A cat, sleek and uninvited, slips along the outer wall and curls beneath a sun-warmed stone. The smell of grain and morning air settles in. Barley bread, coarse and baked 2 days ago, rests in a woven basket. He breaks off a piece, dips it into a bowl of oil mixed with crushed herbs, and eats in silence. Food is not rushed. It is honored, even when it is simple. Especially when it is simple. If the season has been kind, there is a dried fig for sweetness. If not, bread and oil suffice, always enough. His children, 2 boys, still sleep nearby, their limbs sprawled across thin linen cloth. One of them stirs, and he tucks the cloth gently back over the child's shoulder. At the door, his sandals wait, woven from palm fronds, patched many times. The straps creak when he lifts them. He binds them slowly, eyes still adjusting to the soft gold of the sky. Before he leaves, he glances again toward the river, always toward the Nile. Its waters have been his guide since boyhood, its flood, his calendar, its song, his silence. He nods to his wife, who pours the last of the warm tea into a clay flask. He will take it with him. The door opens, and the world greets him with the breath of early day. Cool, damp, alive. The field waits, as it always has. Chapter 2. Walking to the Fields. The farmer steps from his home, shoulders wrapped in a light linen shawl against the morning chill. The earth beneath his feet is still damp with dew. The air carries the scent of river mist and wood smoke from other households. His tools rest against the outer wall, familiar in weight and worn smooth from years of use. A simple wooden hoe, darkened by sun and soil. A sling of twisted rope looped over his shoulder, cradling a bundle of seed wrapped in woven reed cloth. A small, round clay flask, cool to the touch, holds a bit of watered-down beer for the road. He lifts the yoke. A simple wooden beam, polished by time, curved to rest across his shoulders with balance and ease. It carries 2 baskets, one at each end, one filled with tools, the other with fresh-cut fodder for the oxen. The weight is expected. It settles into his muscles like memory. As he walks through the village, he passes other homes, each similar in size and structure. Some have low stone steps, others have pottery cooling in the shade. A neighbor waves quietly from her doorway, a sleeping infant slung over her shoulder. No words are exchanged, just a nod, a knowing glance. In this place, mornings are sacred. Words are saved for when the sun is high. The path to the fields winds along the canal, one of many irrigation channels carved from the Nile's veins. The water flows lazily now, shallow and clear, reflecting the sky like polished stone. Along the bank, birds stir in the reeds. Ibis, heron, the occasional egret. Their white feathers flash against the blue. Nearby, a boy casts a net from the edge, hoping to catch small fish for the day's stew. He does not speak, but offers a shy smile. The farmer continues on. The oxen await him near a stand of palms, 2 great beasts with dark hides and calm eyes, tethered to a wooden yoke resting on the ground. He greets them, not with words, but with touch. His hand rests against the older one's neck, a silent exchange. Trust built not in days but in seasons. Around them, the field stretches outward, flat and open, ringed by narrow dikes and walkways. The soil is dark from last season's flood, its surface cracked like old leather in some places, soft and spongy in others. This land is not his in name. It is temple land, overseen by scribes and high priests, granted to him and other workers by tradition and agreement. Each year, after the inundation, the land is measured again. Wooden rods laid out by scribes, records inked onto palm scrolls or carved into stone. The Wilbur Papyrus, an ancient tax document, tells of this very process. Names, numbers, plots, all inscribed by careful hands. His duty is to this land. To work it, shape it, feed from it, and in turn return a portion to the temple granaries, a pact both practical and spiritual. He steps along the canal dike, inspecting the channels. Some are smooth and flowing, others choked with reeds or blocked by mud. He makes a note of which ones need clearing. Water is life. Its path must be kept open. Along the far edge of the field, another farmer raises a hand, a man he's known since boyhood. They meet eyes briefly, exchange a small smile. No need to speak. Their lives run in parallel, plowing the same earth, raising the same grain, watching the same sky. In the distance, a group of children chase one another between the palms, their laughter floating on the breeze like bird song. One of them carries a branch, pretending it's a staff like the scribes. Another stops to poke at the ground with a stick, watching a beetle roll a ball of dung. The sun climbs slowly now, gold light brushing the tops of the papyrus. The chill of morning begins to lift. The farmer sets down his tools beside the oxen. The air smells of warm earth and river water. He wipes his brow with the edge of his shawl, takes a long drink from his clay flask, and exhales. The work is about to begin, but the walk, the sacred silent walk, is complete, and the day is ready to unfold. Chapter 3: Tools and the Shape of Labor. In ancient Egypt, the rhythm of the day was marked not by hours, but by the feel of tools in one's hands. The farmer begins, slowly, methodically, no sudden motions, no frantic rush. Just the quiet, practiced motion of life unfolding through labor. He lifts a wooden plow, carved from acacia or tamarisk, shaped by hand. The blade is simple, yet effective. It doesn't cut deep, just enough to open the earth for seed. His oxen are yoked, patient and still. He murmurs to them, not words but tones, sounds passed down through generations. They move forward together, the plow carving a dark line into the silt-rich soil. Back and forth he walks. Dust clings to his feet. The sun glints off the polished wood of the plow. Each furrow he leaves behind is a promise, a hope that something will grow. These tools are not fancy, but they are trusted, reliable. Later, he'll scatter seed from a woven net bag slung at his waist. A practiced flick of the wrist. The seeds fan out, disappearing into the narrow trenches like whispers into the wind. His sickle waits nearby, a crescent of wood embedded with sharp flint teeth. It's a tool of harvest, not of sowing, but even now it reminds him of the future, the cycles ahead. There is also the mallet, used for breaking clay clods, and the mattock, more rugged than the hoe, helpful when the soil is stubborn. Reed baskets rest on a flat rock nearby, already prepared for weeds or frogs or debris. Nothing is done halfway. Everything has its place. If a channel clogs, he'll use a simple shovel to scoop the mud, or a curved branch to scrape it free. If a reed wall collapses, he'll rebind it with rope. Twine spun from papyrus stalks, soaked and twisted until strong. Insects buzz around his ankles. Dragonflies dart across the field's edge. A line of ants travels near the ditch, each carrying something too big for its size. His eldest son joins him now, a boy of 10, barefoot, careful not to trample the furrows. He watches first, then reaches for the hoe. The father nods. The lesson begins. Children are not told what to do. They learn by watching, by touching the tools, by mimicking the rhythm. His wife, too, joins the labor in her time. She gathers weeds, checks the edge of the field where pests tend to gather. She scatters crushed herbs around the base of the grain, a method whispered from mother to daughter to keep beetles at bay. Farming here is not a man's job. It is a family bond, a shared task. Even the smallest child carries a reed basket or helps pat down the dirt after the seed is sown. Nearby, An elder sits beneath a tree, watching, resting, offering quiet guidance. His eyes follow the plow. He nods approvingly at a well-laid furrow. Occasionally, he calls out, reminding them of a forgotten trick. Leave room by the canal wall, the reeds will spread. The farmer listens. Respect runs deep, and those who have walked the land the longest are honored, not for their strength, but for their memory. The sun rises higher. The work slows, not because it's finished, but because the heat demands it. Under a shade made from palm leaves and rope, the farmer rests. He wipes his face, takes a bite of dried fig, drinks from the flask again. The tools lie beside him, symbols of motion paused, their handles warm from the sun. Soon he'll return to his work. The furrows will stretch farther, the seed will fall, the water will flow. But in this moment, this pause, he reflects on how little his tools have changed, on how many footsteps have walked this same path, on how a plow, a hoe, and a humble basket have kept the kingdom alive. It is not the pharaohs who till the earth. It is not the gods who bend in the sun. It is the farmer, guided by simple tools and shaped by the labor of his hands. And so the day continues. Chapter 4. Seasons of a Farmer. Time in ancient Egypt did not follow clocks, but followed the river. The Nile was more than water. It was a calendar, a metronome of life, a sacred breath that rose and fell with the seasons. And for the farmer, these seasons shaped everything. His work, his rest, his hopes. Unlike the 4 seasons we know today, the Egyptians followed 3. Akhet, the flood, Peret, the growing, Shemu, the harvest. Each season lasted 4 months. Each had its own scent, its own color, its own rhythm. Akhet, the time of inundation, begins in midsummer. The Nile rises, its waters rushing down from distant rains in Ethiopia. They spill into the floodplains, covering fields in a thick, silty embrace. The farmer cannot plant, he cannot work the fields. Instead, he waits. But it is not wasted time. There is much to do. Walls are patched, tools are sharpened, nets are mended, boats drift through what was once farmland. Children splash near doorways. The scent of wet clay fills the air. Offerings are brought to the temple, to Hapi, the god of the Nile flood. Small altars are built by the water's edge. Bouquets of papyrus and lotus flowers float downstream, carrying silent prayers. When the water recedes, prayer begins. The land emerges again, dark, wet, rich. This is the season of emergence, of planting. The farmer returns to his fields. He walks barefoot through the mud, feeling the ground beneath him as if greeting an old friend. Silt clings to his legs, thick and fertile, a gift from the gods. With his oxen and plow, he cuts lines into the earth, not deep, just enough to cradle the seed. Wheat, barley, flax, all cast carefully by hand, every handful measured, every motion deliberate. Small irrigation ditches are reopened, carved channels that guide what remains of the flood's moisture toward each root, each hope. The sky remains gentle, nights are cool, and growth begins in silence. Then comes Shemu, the harvest. The sun is stronger now. The fields have changed from green to gold. Wheat sways in the breeze. Flax bows gracefully, ready to be gathered. Work begins early, before the heat takes hold. The sickle's curved teeth glide through the stalks. Farmers move in lines. Women follow behind, tying bundles with palm fiber. Children stack the sheaves. The threshing floor is swept and ready. Oxen are led in circles, their hooves separating grain from husk. Then the winnowing begins, a rhythmic tossing of grain into the air. The chaff is caught by the wind, and the heavy kernels fall back to earth. There is singing, there is laughter. The harvest is not easy, but it is joyful. It is the reward for faith and labor. The final task is storing. Clay jars are filled and sealed. Baskets are lined up along the cool, shaded walls of granaries. Some will be kept. Some will be given to the temple. Some, if the harvest was good, might even be traded. And as the last bundle is gathered, as the final stalk is plucked, the farmer looks to the sky. He knows it will all begin again. Inundation, emergence, harvest, Akhet, Peret, Shemu. A cycle as eternal as the stars, as dependable as the Nile. These seasons do more than mark time. They shape the soul. The farmer is not merely surviving. He is part of something. A sacred rhythm, a dance with water, sun, and soil. And so, with fields cleared and tools stacked, he gives thanks. Not in grand speeches, but in the way he straightens a wall, in the way he smooths the earth with his palm, in the quiet, enduring way of those who work the land and trust the river. The Nile has risen, and it will rise again. Chapter 5. Grain, Tax, and Temple. The farmer's harvest is not an end, it is a beginning. Once the wheat is tied, threshed, and winnowed, another duty rises, one not to the soil, but to the state. The farmer is not alone on his land. Though he sows and reaps with his own hands, the land is held in trust, by temples, by the crown, by the divine order of Egypt. And so each year he must give back a portion of his grain, weighed, measured, and taxed, not with coins. For ancient Egypt had no minted money, but with grain, barley and wheat, tallied and tallied again. From the tomb of Mena, an 18th dynasty scribe, we see it clearly, painted on plaster walls, a line of farmers waiting quietly, each with a basket of grain balanced on their shoulder, a slow procession under the sun. Scribes kneel at the center, their reed pens poised above papyrus scrolls. Each stroke of ink records a number, a name, an obligation. Officials stand nearby, rods in hand, watching. There is no room for guessing. The flood height has been noted. The expected yield has been calculated. If the farmer falls short, he may plead his case. Cite a weak flood, pests, a sudden illness. But there is little mercy in the system. Still, the taxes are not taken in greed. They form the bones of the kingdom. The collected grain flows inward, toward the temples. These sacred centers are more than places of worship. They are banks, granaries, employers, hubs of spiritual and administrative life. Stored in cool chambers with thick walls, grain becomes insurance, a reserve for times of drought, for famine, for building. When a pyramid rises, it is paid for, not with gold, but with bread and beer. Workers are fed from these sacred stocks. Priests are sustained. Offerings are made. And the farmer's grain, humble, coarse, becomes holy. Part of it will be mixed into temple bread. Part will ferment into beer for festival rituals. Some will fill the bowls laid before gods of harvest and afterlife. In this way, the farmer is connected, not just to the land, but to the divine structure of the world. His work feeds more than mouths. It feeds balance. It feeds justice. The Egyptian word for this harmony is ma'at. Truth, order, the way things should be. Even the king, The pharaoh himself is judged by how well he upholds Ma'at, and the farmer, in his quiet role, is just as vital, Shay. He brings Ma'at to life in every furrow he digs, every seed he plants, every basket he carries to the scribes. There is no ceremony when he pays his tax. No praise, no parade, just the faint brush of pen to papyrus, the turn of a clay seal, the nod of an official, and then he walks home. Lighter in grain, but full in purpose. The temple doors close behind him, tall and silent. Inside are columns painted with stars, halls echoing with sacred chants, and granaries stacked with the fruit of 100 farmers' labor. Outside, the sun lowers, the air cools, and tomorrow he will return to the field, to sow, to tend, to give again. Not out of fear, but out of rhythm, out of reverence. The Nile gives, and so must he. This is how a civilization endures, not by kings alone, but by the quiet hands of farmers, who give their share and trust that the gods will give theirs. Chapter 6. Evening at home. The sun lowers gently behind the date palms, casting long shadows across the edge of the village. The fields are quiet now, the oxen untethered, the air cooler, scented with dust, straw, and smoke. The farmer returns. His steps slower than in morning, but steady. His shoulders sag under the day's labor, the crease of sun and wind across his brow. His tunic is dusty, his hands stained with earth, but there is comfort in coming home. The doorway, low and familiar, opens into light. The small clay lamp flickers once more. Inside, his wife stirs a clay pot. The scent of lentils and onions fills the air, perhaps a pinch of coriander or garlic, dried from the last market visit. The children are seated on woven mats. One leans drowsily against the wall, another traces circles in the dust. Their toys are simple: a carved crocodile, a ball made from bundled cloth, a clay doll with painted eyes. The home is one room. Walls of mud brick, cool in the heat, warm in the chill. The roof is thatched with palm fronds, sometimes leaking during rain, but good enough. In the corner, a shallow basket holds the day's grain. A small chest contains a folded linen shendit. There is no excess, but there is enough. The evening meal is quiet, bread, flat and round, dipped in oil or mashed lentils. If fortune smiled, there might be a few dates. The beer is thick, like porridge, brewed from barley, fermented slowly in jars. It is food and drink in one. They eat with fingers. The children giggle. The wife hums softly, a melody passed down from her own mother. After the meal, the farmer tends to tasks put off during daylight. He mends the edge of a net. He checks the ox's hoof for cracks. He patches a worn place on the wall with fresh clay. His wife sweeps out the corners with a reed broom. She rinses the bowls. She braids her daughter's hair with quiet hands. Outside, the village glows. A scattering of small fires, shadows dancing across walls. Neighbors sit near doors, murmuring softly. An old woman fans herself with woven straw. A man plucks a harp of only 5 strings, its notes drifting into the dusk. The farmer steps outside. He watches the stars rise, one by one. Orion, the god Sa, walks the sky. The Milky Way is the celestial Nile, curving above him just as the river curves through the land. He speaks a quiet prayer, not recited but felt, to Hapi for water, to Osiris for the dead, to Taweret for his wife's next childbirth. Then he returns inside. His son is already asleep. His daughter yawns against her mother's lap. The lamp dims. Shadows settle. He lies down on the straw mat, his back sore, but his mind clear. Outside, a cat slips across the roof. A dog barks once in the distance. Then, stillness. He thinks of the field, of the canal, of the flood yet to come, but only for a moment. Sleep, like the river, comes quietly. It does not ask. It simply arrives. The farmer's last breath of the day is deep. His dreams, nothing grand. He dreams of harvest, of his son's laughter, of cool water over calloused hands. Tomorrow he will rise again. But for now, he rests in a world shaped by routine, by soil, by starlight, and the night wraps gently around his home, like linen around a newborn, soft, complete, and still. Chapter 7. Dreams by the Nile. Night in the Nile Valley is a sacred thing. As darkness settles over the land, it is not fearful, but familiar. An old friend, wrapping the village in soft shadows, the moon, silver and full, rises slowly over the horizon. Its light spills across the water, turning the river into a ribbon of liquid starlight. The farmer stands outside once more. The work is done. The children sleep. The fire has faded to embers. He lifts his eyes to the sky. Above him, the heavens wheel slowly. Not random stars, but the bodies of gods, of ancestors, of those who guide and watch and wait. The stars of Orion shimmer, Sa, the soul of Osiris, walking across the sky with quiet strength. Near him, the star Sopdet, which will one day announce the flooding of the Nile, a promise of renewal. The Milky Way glows faintly above. In Egyptian thought, it is the heavenly river, a reflection of the Nile itself. To the farmer, it is not science, not astronomy, it is home. He sees stories written in light, he feels them, and so he speaks softly. A prayer. Not a grand one, not with ritual or offering, just words from one life to the beyond. He gives thanks for the harvest, for his wife, for his children's health. He asks for guidance, for strength, for the river to rise again, and then, quietly, he steps back into his home. The night is warm, the air still. He lies down on the straw mat beside his wife. Her breathing is deep. The room is lit only by moonlight seeping through a reed curtain. And as his eyes close, his thoughts drift, not to worries, but to memories. A child's laugh in the canal, the feeling of cool mud between his fingers, the way wheat bends just before harvest. In dreams, he returns to these moments, small things, sacred things. He dreams of fields stretching endlessly under the sky, of planting seeds that will rise after him, of ancestors smiling in the shadow of palms. In his dream, he walks beside the Nile, not hurried, not alone. The river speaks, as it always has, not in words, but in rhythm, a soft lap of water, the rustle of reeds, the whisper of wind over grain. He walks and walks, his heart full, his soul quiet. And in this walking dream, he understands something simple yet eternal, that his life, humble as it is part of something vast, a rhythm older than kings, a song sung by soil and sky. The farmer sleeps, and the Nile carries him through the night, through memory, through meaning, through time itself. And so he rests, and so perhaps will you. Until next time, you have walked with him, this unnamed farmer by the Nile. You rose with him before dawn, felt the cool earth beneath your feet, tasted the simple bread of barley and oil. You walked the canal paths, cleared the irrigation ditches, and placed seeds into the waiting earth. You watched the sky change from the quiet blue of morning to the gold of labor and the hush of night. You returned home beside him, sat in the glow of the clay lamp, watched shadows stretch long across mud brick walls. In his silence, you found stillness. In his rhythm, you felt balance. In his ordinary life, something eternal was revealed. The farmer never asked to be remembered, but here you are, carrying a fragment of his world into your own. And now, your day is ending too. The room around you is still. The light grows dim. Perhaps, like him, you lie in a quiet place. Perhaps the hum of life fades, and all that remains is breath and rest. Let the calm of ancient Egypt stay with you. Let it wrap around you like linen, software clean, sacred. Let your thoughts be light, your body heavy, your spirit free. Just as the Nile flowed without end, may your rest flow gently through the night. No rush, no worry, only peace. And when morning comes again, as it always does, may you rise with quiet strength, with clarity, with renewal. Until then, dream sweetly under the stars once worshipped by kings. Dream with the river beside you. And when you return next time, the scribe will be waiting. The scroll will be open. The story will continue. Sleep well, traveler, and may your dreams carry you far downstream, with the moon above and the Nile below. Let your body sink gently into the stillness of sleep. May your dreams be soft, may your rest be deep, and may the story continue. When next we drift down the river together. Good night from the Sleeping Scribe. If you've enjoyed this quiet journey through ancient Egypt, let the river carry you back again next week. I share new bedtime stories and sleep documentaries every week. Gentle tales of pharaohs, pyramids, and the peaceful lives of those often forgotten. Be sure to subscribe to the Sleeping Scribe. Like this video if it soothed your spirit. And leave a comment to let me know which ancient path you'd like to wander next. Your voice helps others who are searching for peace, rest, and history to find their way here too. Until next time, sleep softly.